Look, with Ms. Maxwell, she was not eligible at this moment for any type of transfer. The fact that she's moved to this new prison just within this week of meeting with Todd Blanche, who, as we know, is not just the deputy AG, but was Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, his personal attorney, should be very concerning.
California Congressman Robert Garcia adding to the number of lawmakers demanding an explanation as to why Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison camp in Texas. The decision immediately sparked backlash from the victims, including the family of Virginia Giuffre, who said that the move smacks of a cover-up. The victims deserve better. Joining me now is Walt Pavlo, the CEO of Prisonology and a network firm of retired Bureau of Prisons professionals. And let's just start with the fact that, were you surprised by the move in and of itself and also the speed of it?
Yes, I was. It was, it's really unprecedented. When the Bureau of Prisons is looking at placing an inmate in custody, they look at the security classification. And when they're doing that, they're saying, what's the best level for this person to be at? And Ms. Maxwell would have probably been like camp eligible as far as most of her security profile, with the exception that she was convicted of a sex crime, a human trafficking crime. And that requires the application of a public safety factor, which means that she's camp ineligible and she would have to be held at a low. And in the 11 years that we've been doing this, we've never seen a public safety factor for sex offender waived for anyone. And we've tried in some cases.
So what do you make of the fact that a senior official has denied Maxwell has been receiving preferential treatment? But what do you make of the fact that a convicted sex offender has now been moved to what could be considered a more cush prison, if there is such a thing? What do you make of the timing of all of it as well?
Well, there's no coincidence on the timing. Obviously, there's a meeting with very high-level people at the Department of Justice, and then very soon after that, she's moved to a camp. The usual procedure to even try to do this could take several months just to get permission. But there's another complicating factor with like Ms. Maxwell. First of all, she was a fugitive when she first started. They were seeking her, and then when she was finally caught, they didn't allow her to be out on bond, and because she had significant resources, she had multiple passports. There were a lot of other security reasons that they looked at. So the speed at which this happened is pretty remarkable, just the move itself. One other factor I will say is just how quickly she moved from one prison to another. A typical inmate is moved through, many hubs and different spots along the way. And it could take anywhere from, believe it or not, 2 weeks to 2 months to get to the next location. I mean, she pretty much went on a one-way jet ride between prisons. So, all of that in itself is unprecedented.
Well, give us a sense, for those of us who aren't familiar, about the difference between the Florida facility that she was being housed in and what she may encounter in Texas.
I think the camp is just going to be a little bit, if for lack of a better term, a better quality of inmate. There's going to be, more minimum security, first-time, nonviolent offenders that are going to be in there versus a low, which is going to have people who have very long sentences, maybe have other violent crimes. Conditions aren't going to be that much different, other than, there's now going to be not much of a perimeter fence. So the security is just a little bit less, but the quality of people that she would hang around with as far as their criminal history is going to be, somebody a little bit easier to get along with. And there's no other sex offenders there. I'm curious to see how that plays out for her. Will that be a benefit that they just don't see her as a sex offender? Because sometimes those people are discriminated against in prison. So that's going to be something to watch.
Really interesting insights there. Walt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The unexpected